If there is one modern guitarist who's been truly successful in bridging generations, it would have to be Richie Faulkner. He's earned the respect of old school metal fans thanks to his pedigree, stemming from guitar legends such as Michael Schenker and Randy Rhoads, and at the same time, he's also developed a more contemporary sound and a playing style that's unmistakably his own. Now, what Richie's done with Judas Priest, especially the last two albums, Firepower and Invincible Shield, puts him up there with the very best. And with his band Elegant Weapons, he's now carving out his own unique space entirely. When I heard the band's first single, Do or Die, I was immediately just blown away by how good the song is. The guitar work is phenomenal, as we all knew it would be, but the riffs, hooks, and vocal melodies stand out as well, and the performance of all four guys is just unbelievably good. And like the big guitar nerd that I am, I just couldn't wait to hear what Richie's solo was going to be like. And when it hit, oh man, did it ever hit. All the elements of a great classic heavy metal solo are there. Majestic melodies, impeccable pacing, tension and release, excellent phrasing, fiery passion, and fast, technically challenging bits that make the solo feel exhilarating. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Licks of the Beast. I'm Nico, and this is a place where you can fuel your passion for heavy metal and guitars. I've been a metalhead for over 40 years and a guitar player for almost as long, and I just love to talk about the things that make this music so awesome and so uniquely different from everything else. I hope you'll enjoy your time here and that you'll become a member of this fantastic and growing community. Now, let's talk about this killer solo by Richie Faulkner. First of all, let me just say that I've spent months working on this solo. Learning the notes didn't take very long, but figuring out some of the subtleties in the phrasing and getting to the point where I'm somewhat able to perform it with both the right intensity and fluidity, that's a whole other story. And in fact, I'm still not quite nailing it, but I can get close enough where I'm comfortable playing it for you all here and breaking down some of the key licks, musical ideas, and compositional techniques. So with that in mind, let me start with a quick playthrough, and then we'll look at some of the things that make it so great. And if you're following along with your guitar, I'm tuned down a whole step to D standard, as Richie is on the original recording. The key principle in this solo is the brilliant use of repetition. Now, some of Richie's major influences include Dave Murray, Randy Rhoads, Michael Schenker, and Zakk Wylde. And one thing all four have in common is their use of repeating patterns and motifs, be it ascending, descending, or recurring. And in this solo, Richie actually uses all three. And that shows that he's been able to absorb the essence of what made those legendary guitars so exceptional, without resorting to mimicry or simply rehashing their licks. So we'll talk a lot about the use of repetition at various points in the solo, but first, let's look at the opening bars, because that's what initially hooks you in. It's melodic and powerful as the notes soar above the tight, driving rhythm of the accompaniment, like a falcon. I love when Richie does this kind of thing, and in fact, he references this melody a little bit in the outro of Judas Priest's Invincible Shield. and I always get massive goosebumps whenever I hear it. The first real lick of the solo is an excellent example of the use of a repeating motif, and it's also a great display of masterful pentatonic box playing with subtle finger rolls and precise muting to keep the notes clean and distinct without any bleed. So the motif is, which is basically just a descending pentatonic scale, 3 notes down, 1 note up, 2 notes down. And each note is followed by its fourth. So he just continues that way all the way down. And ending on that bluesy flat fifth creates a little tension for the next lick. And that next lick is another repeating motif, a series of diminished arpeggios. Now he also goes into each one with a rake, so it gives it a little more grit than if he were to play each arpeggio clean up and down. The following section is the one that gave me the most trouble, and it's still a bit of a challenge for me to play it smoothly and precisely because it requires some very sharp picking and quick hammer-ons. And both techniques are an absolute nightmare to master. It's also ridiculously fast, so you have no time to think about what you're doing. If you're gonna play this lick the way it was recorded, you really have to have it internalized in your muscle memory through a lot of practice. So the whole thing is based on the A natural minor scale, or A Aeolian if we want to talk modes. And it starts off with a 10-note motif that is all alternate picked except for one hammer-on. Now that hammer-on makes it very tricky because you have to stop your picking on the E string, hit the hammer-on, and then pick the B string with an upstroke immediately after. And for this to sound clean and crisp, everything has to be timed just right. And that's where good synchronization between the left and right hand is super important. There's also a quick vibrato on that last note to make it sound more alive. It's like adding a little trill, which is what I initially thought it was until I started learning it properly. And this is played 3 times. Another instance of repetition, and from the 3rd time, it branches out into a descending sequence that immediately turns around into an ascending one. So it's like a Dave Murray, Jakey Lee mashup. And the whole thing is just really fucking fast. Like, that shit's hard to play. And as a quick side note, when I mention things like scales or modes, please keep in mind that I'm not trying to explain the process of creating the solo. I'm only talking about the result. Music theory gives us the ability to contextualize why something might work particularly well, and the vocabulary to make it a little easier to analyze, explain, teach, or even simply appreciate a given piece of music. So it's not a set of rules that one consults while composing like an instruction manual or a guidebook. And every so often I'll see a comment to the effect of, I don't think so-and-so was thinking any of this when he came up with the solo. And it's like, no, not really. But when you've been playing for 15, 20, 30 years, there is a lot of accumulated knowledge that just seems to come out naturally, but that is actually the result of your many years of study and your subconscious mind doing its thing. And saying that someone like Richie just plays by feel in the literal sense almost implies that it's not the result of tons of hard work and study beforehand. And I think it's really quite dismissive. So anyway, back to the solo. So there's a nice interlude section with a harmonized guitar part that follows the vocal melody. And then it goes right back to the solo. And this time, they've modulated up a step to the key of B minor. So this one starts off with a tapped lick that is repeated an octave higher. And the way he comes out of that one is really cool. Next, he reiterates that pentatonic run that he played at the beginning. And then he ends the solo with an extended version of the diminished arpeggio run, also from the first part of the solo. A series of diminished arpeggios like this is often synonymous with neoclassical shredding, guys like Malmsteen and Pelleteri or Chastain, but somehow this run doesn't really sound or feel neoclassical at all. And that's because he's phrasing it as a series of second inversion arpeggios, starting from the fifth. Richie has a real knack for applying tried and true ideas in a contemporary and truly unique manner, so that there's never any doubt that you're listening to a Richie Faulkner solo. And really, that's one of the most difficult things to achieve as a guitarist, and ultimately, what separates great players from legends. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'd love to know your thoughts on Richie's work with Elegant Weapons and with Judas Priest. And if you have a favorite song, riff, or solo, please do let me know, and maybe I'll talk about it in a future video. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more licks of the beast.